Julius Kambarage Nyerere was a writer and also the first Prime Minister of independent Tanganyika in 1961, who later became the first President of the new state of Tanzania in 1964. Nyerere was also the major force behind the organization of the African Unity. Nyerere, born on April 13, 1922, on the eastern shore of Lake Victoria in Ujamaa, northwest Tanganyika, was one of the 25 surviving children of Nyerere Burito, the chief of the small Zanaki ethnic group. Nyerere began attending government primary school in Musama at the age of 12, where he completed the 4-year program in 3 years and went to Tabora Boys Government Secondary School. He received a scholarship to attend Makerere University, where he obtained a teaching diploma. He returned to Tanganyika and worked for 3 years at St. Mary's Secondary School in Tabora, where he taught biology and English. In 1949, he got a scholarship to attend the University of Edinburgh, where he obtained his Masters of Art degree in Economics and History in 1952. He was the first Tanzanian to study at a British university and only the second to gain the university degree outside Africa. In Edinburgh, partly through his encounter with Fabian thinking, Nyerere began to develop his particular vision of connecting socialism with African communal living. By the time Nyerere entered politics, the old League of Nations mandate that British had exercised in Tanganyika had been converted into a United Nations trusteeship, with independence as its ultimate goal. Seeking to hasten the process of emancipation, Nyerere joined the Tanganyika African Association and quickly became its president in 1953. In 1954, he converted the organization into the political-oriented Tanganyika African National Union. Under Nyerere's leadership, the organization espoused peaceful change, social equality and racial harmony, and rejected tribalism and other forms of racial and ethnic discriminations. In 1955 and 1956, he journeyed to the United Nations in New York City as a petitioner to the Trusteeship Council and the Fourth Committee on Trust and Non-Self-Governing Territories. After a debate that ended in his being granted hearing, he asked for a target date for the independence of Tanganyika. The British administration rejected the demand, but a dialogue was begun that established Nyerere as the preeminent nationalist spokesman for his country. The British administration nominated him a member of the Tanganyikan Legislative Council, but he resigned in 1957 in protest against the slowness of progress towards independence. In 1958 to 1959, Nyerere and TANU won a large number of seats on the Legislative Council. In a subsequent election in August 1960, his organization managed to win 70 out of 71 seats in Tanganyika's new Legislative Assembly. Progress towards independence owed much to the understanding and mutual trust that developed during the course of negotiation between Nyerere and the British governor, Sir Richard Turnbull. Tanganyika became independent on December 9, 1961, with Nyerere as its first prime minister. The next month, however, he resigned from this position to devote his time to writing and synthesizing his views of government and of African unity. One of Nyerere's more important work was a paper called Ujamaa, the basis for African socialism, which later served as the philosophical basis for the Arusha Declaration in 1967. When Tanganyika became a republic in 1962, Nyerere was elected president, and in 1964, he became president of the United Republic of Tanzania, an amalgamation of Tanganyika and Zanzibar. Nyerere's integrity, ability as a political orator and organizer, and readiness to work with different groupings was a significant factor in independence being achieved without bloodshed. As president, Nyerere had to stay a difficult course. By the late 1960s, Tanzania was one of the world's most poorest countries. Like many others, it was suffering from a severe foreign debt burden, a decrease in foreign aid, and a fall in the price of commodities. His solution, the collectivization of agriculture, vigilization, and large-scale nationalization, was a unique blend of socialism and communal life. The focus, given the nature of Tanzania's society, was on rural development. People were encouraged to live and work on a cooperative basis in organized villages, or Ujamaa, meaning familyhood in Kiswahili. The idea was to extend traditional values and responsibilities around kinship to Tanzania as a whole. Within the declaration, there was a commitment to raising basic living standards and an opposition to conspicuous consumption and large private wealth. The socialism he believed in was people-centered, humanist in its full essence, rather than wealth creation must come first. This was a matter that Nyerere took to be important both in political and private terms. Unlike many other politicians, he did not amass a large fortune through exploiting his position. Nyerere was re-elected president of Tanzania in 1965 and was returned to serve 3 more successive 5-year terms before he resigned as a president in 1985 and handed over his office to his successor, Ali Hassan Mwinyi. From independence onward, Nyerere also headed Tanzania's only political party, Chama cha Mapinduzi, which is also known as CCM. From the mid-1970s, along with President Kenneth Kaunda of Zambia, he was an instigator and leader of the frontline state, which provided uncompromising support for the campaign of black majority rule in South Africa. In 1979, he also opposed the brutal regime of Idi Amin in Uganda. Following a border invasion by Amin in 1978, a 20,000-strong Tanzanian army along with the rebel groups invaded Uganda. It took the capital, Kampala, in 1979, restoring Uganda's first president, Milton Obote, to power. The battle against Amin was expensive and placed a strain on government finances. Nyerere's foreign policy overall emphasized neutrality in the Cold War, and under his leadership, Tanzania enjoyed friendly relations with both the West and the East. As a committed Pan-Africanist, Nyerere provided a home for a number of African liberation movements, including the African National Congress (ANC) and the Pan-African Congress (PAC) of South Africa, when seeking to overthrow Portuguese rule in Mozambique and Zanzibar in the struggle to unseat the white regime in southern Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. Nyerere was the first African head of state to retire voluntarily. He stepped down because he realized that his socialist policies of communal ownership of farms and state ownership of service were not working. After the presidency, Nyerere remained the chairman of CCM until 1990, when Ali Hassan Mwinyi took over. He moved back to his childhood home village of Butiama in western Tanzania. During his retirement, One of his last high-profile actions was the chief mediator in the Burundi conflict in 1996. He died of leukemia in a London hospital on October 14, 1999. Nyerere was a controversial figure. Across Africa, he gained widespread respect as an anti-colonialist, and in power, received praises for ensuring that, unlike many of its neighbors, Tanzania remained stable and unified in the decades following independence.